showtime.
It's showtime. And here we go.
Welcome into another episode of the Movie Geek Podcast. I'm your host, George T., and this is my review of Netflix's Guillermo Del Toro's Frankenstein. And this is a pet project of Del Toro's that he had wanted to do for years. After seeing this film, what an amazing film. I am actually surprised that Netflix was able to snag this movie. This probably could have done some good business at the box office, I think. And I will get into all of it in a very short period of time here. But I wanted to go over his career. But first, like, comment, subscribe if you are new to the channel here. Like and comment if you are a Del Toro fan. He has done some amazing movies. He and Catherine Bigelow, Netflix really got a hold of both of these fine directors. This movie, although Catherine Bigelow didn't write A House of Dynamite, Del Toro wrote and directed this film. His first film, or his first major debut film, was in 1992, called Kronos. After that, he did Blade 2, Hellboy and Hellboy 2, Pacific Rim and Pacific Rim 2, Crimson Peak. Wow, that was so good. Tom Hiddleston, Jessica Chastain, Rosamund Pike. It was a really good cast, really good movie. The Shape of Water, another really good film. Nightmare Alley was really good. That had Bradley Cooper in it. And then a stop motion Pinocchio movie. And that one kind of went under the radar a little bit because everybody talked about his #1 movie, which was Pan's Labyrinth. What an amazing movie that was. Just the writing and the whole movie was just it was so good. So when Del Toro got the green light to do Frankenstein, which he loved Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, he jumped at the chance. He had also written the Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark movie, and he helped out on the Hobbit series with Peter Jackson. He is not in the top of the writing credits, but he is in writing credits. So he helped Peter Jackson out with some of the writing on that. So he's done a lot of good stuff. And Frankenstein is absolutely one heck of a film. Definitely, probably going to be in my top 5 at the end of the year. I didn't even have this on my list at the beginning of the year, and I really should have, but I don't think it was on any lists beforehand until Netflix decided to put it out. So, but I've got to research that. I got to look at that. But if it was on the list and I absolutely missed it, that is completely on my bad. So, wait for that episode at the end of the year. I was just going over it thinking, wow, some of these movies on this list are not going to be at the end of the year. It is what it is. All right, let's get into the characters real quick. So you have Jacob Elderoy, who plays the monster that Victor creates. He's not given a name in this film, and I will get into all of that later. He is famous for the movie Saltburn, everybody loves Saltburn. Um, and if you haven't seen Saltburn, go and see it. I think it's on Prime right now. Mia Goth, who has done some really good films lately, is in this film. She plays Elizabeth. Oscar Isaac is Victor Frankenstein in this. Christoph Waltz, um, from many movies, Inglorious Bastards. There's just so many of them. I also saw him in another film I was watching the other day. I can't remember it, but um, he plays Hector. Felix Kemmer plays Victor younger brother Alex, and Charles Dance, who was in a Frankenstein movie back in the day, plays his Victor's father, and so we get into the movie right away with Victor being chased down by the monster, who seemingly has so much power and doesn't seem to want to die. Victor is wound up taken in by a stranded group in an ice, in an ice field as they're trying to sail home, and Victor is taken in while they try to keep the monster out. And Victor tells of the story of how the monster got created. So that is chapter 1 of this film. So we get a sense of Victor when he was younger. His father was very strict and very, very hateful toward Victor and his mother, which is very strange. Again, I didn't read the book, so I don't know how accurate and true it is. Although I've read somewhere where it is very, very close to the true essence of what Mary Shelley's book was. So Victor, was bred and born and bred for being a doctor, and a good doctor, because his father was a well-renowned doctor, and he grilled him every day, but he hated his mother. But his mother was bearing a new child, and when it came time for her to give birth to Alex, she started hemorrhaging and died. Victor did not understand why Dad wouldn't have kept her alive, and his dad said, "Oh, I tried to," but Victor challenged him on that and said, "You're the best doctor there is. How could you not be able to save her?" And he doesn't really give an answer. He goes right back to being on Victor. And, Victor has this come to Jesus moment where he's like, I'm going to be so much better than you. I'm going to do things that nobody has ever done, not even you, Dad. And it's true. As he starts to really branch out, he has this vision of, as he says it came to him in this artwork or statue that was there, that really resonated with him, that made him think that he could cheat death, basically. So he was giving an exhibition at a college where he had basically, a cadaver, but it was only so it was basically the head, the brain was intact, one arm, and you could see the heart and some of the valves. He had them hooked up to a battery source, and he tells them that he can get this thing to wake up from the dead. And they're like, "This is preposterous. You can't do that." And no sooner does he hook this battery source up, it takes a few minutes, but the brain and the heart start to work, and it wakens the zombified, basically corpse head, which they think at that time is unnatural and unlawful. At the same time, they think, well, he, this thing cannot think for itself. You're just prolonging its agony and telling its brain that it's basically alive when it can't. So he has this ball and he throws it toward the corpse and he grabs it. So basically, it has brain function now and it thinks that it's alive. He has made it believe that it is alive. Eventually, he turns the power source off. Boom, it goes back to being dead. Now there's outrage everywhere. And this is where Hector comes in and wants to fund his research. He wants to see Victor, realize his vision. Along the way, he meets Elizabeth, Hector's daughter, who is going to marry the little brother of Victor. She's very curious. She's very outspoken, but she's very prompt and proper. She has a very knowledgeable sense of person, and she really dislikes Victor, and gets to know him a little bit, but still has her reservations about Victor, knowing that Victor could be not a very good man. So eventually, Hector gets enough funding, and they start to build in this tower that is abandoned, his workshop. So now Victor needs parts, human body parts. So there's a war that happens, and so he is out there searching for the right body parts. They can't be too grotesque. They can't be too scarred. He's looking for the perfect pieces to put together. And he is documenting them one at a time. So basically he's got Hector taking pictures, and he's just literally putting this thing together until eventually we get to the point where his monster is now completed, and it's now time to try to bring it to life. There's a violent rainstorm, and this is where Hector turns the tables on Victor. He won't allow him to just awaken this creature. Well, they call it a creature, but basically they've just put this man together with all these parts. Hector wants his brain to be put into the monster because he is going to die soon from syphilis. Victor thinks it's unnatural for that because syphilis could have damaged his brain, which in turn could damage the human that he is creating. So no dice. He winds up pushing him down, and he dies as he falls from one of the floors of the laboratory, and now he needs to dispose of the body. So the storm comes and goes. The power source blows out, and the monster does not come alive right away. He's got a battery pack. He's trying to get him to go, and it just doesn't work. Or it doesn't. So Victor goes to bed that night, and he awakens, and the monster is standing at the foot of his bed. Victor starts to talk to him, tells him that he's Victor, and tries to figure out what he is, and so on. So he winds up putting him down in the basement area and trying to teach him stuff. And as he's going through it, Victor realizes something, that his creation that he has created is now grotesque to him. Like, what have I done? And now he becomes his father, basically, by terrorizing this creation of his, and trying to get him to talk, trying to get him to do this, trying to get him to do that, and understand. And he is horrified by what he has done. Alex and Elizabeth wind up going to find out how her father is, and what happened. He leaves the door open down in the basement, and Elizabeth finds the creature down there, and she is enthralled with him. Like, she is so weird, because she is so immersed with the creature. She starts to bond with it, and the creature starts to develop a more conscience and kind of a heart, so to speak, even though we really don't know if he has a soul, because he's learning how to live. And as he starts to learn all this, now Victor is even more scared, because his strength is growing. He's becoming more aware of what he can do, and Victor wants to kill him at that point and end it. He knows that he did marvelous work. He made this creation and gave it life. Well, now he wants to kill it. So he sets fire to the building, thinking that the monster would die, or the creature would die, and it escapes. It has a conscience. It knows what it needs to do to survive. He becomes friendly with like a neighbor who's a blind man, who really teaches him how to speak, how to feel. Obviously he cannot tell, because he's blind, what he looks like, but Victor knows that if well sorry the monster knows what he looks like, and he knows that he's grotesque, but he knows that the old man doesn't really care, but he doesn't know why. Like, obviously he doesn't know that he's blind or whatever. So there's a wolf attack, and the old man dies. He winds up killing most of the wolves before they run out. The neighbors next door think that the monster has killed the old man, even though he had nothing to do with it. He loved the old man. He became very sad and very angry. He winds up getting shot a couple times. He gets stabbed with a sickle, and he stumbles out into the yard. He gets by the gate, and they shoot him over and over again, and you think he's dead. And he survives. The cold, harsh snow and winter somehow revive him. Also, he regenerates. Kind of strange, but kind of very interesting as well. So now he is on his path toward Victor. So now we get a second chapter, which is now from the monster's perspective. And again, he is self-aware now enough where he joins Victor inside where the boat where the captain is keeping him, and now he tells his side of the story. So we get a sense that Victor is the real monster in this whole thing, and the creature or the monster had nothing, really nothing that he could do about it. So you start to feel for him. You start to feel like he does, where he has no real place in the world, and he can't die. So there is that dilemma that now Victor has to face, where he created this thing where he thought he was going to be able to control and, um, you know, probably bring out more. But the monster wants more now because he knows he can't die. Like, he's had run ins with other people, they've tried to shoot him, he just regenerates. So, he has affection for Elizabeth. Uh, the, he tracks down Victor at Alex and Elizabeth's wedding. He confronts Victor. He says to him that he knows that he can't die. He thanks Victor on one hand for creating him, but at the same time, he absolutely hates being alive because he knows that he is so different and he can't blend in with other humans. So he asks Victor for a companion, so a bride of Frankenstein, basically. And Victor tells him, no, what you are a hideous, grotesque devil of a creation. If I were to give you a bride, so to speak, what would be next? You breed, and more of you grotesque and, unholy, uh, you know, things, start walking the earth and, survive longer than any of us. And that gets the monster angry, starts tossing him around the room. This is when Elizabeth runs in. Victor grabs a gun to try to shoot the monster, but Elizabeth jumps in the way and shoots her in the stomach. Alex comes running upstairs with a bunch of guys, and they see the monster. Victor starts yelling, "The monster killed her, the monster killed her." Now, the monster starts tossing everyone around, grabs Alex, throws him against the wall, and he hits his head and, starts bleeding out. So the monster takes Elizabeth, out of the home. People are mortified, but they don't do anything. So I was like, he's just walking out with Elizabeth and nobody is stopping him. Nobody is standing in his way. Nobody is shooting at him or anything. He's just walking. He winds up walking to a cave, puts Elizabeth down. He wants to try to save her, but he doesn't know how to. The only one that could be Victor, but by the time he got back to Victor, she'd be dead. So they kind of have a heart-to-heart moment, and basically that was it for Elizabeth. Victor now is on the hunt to try to kill the monster, even though he's been warned that he can't die. So this goes on and on and on. He confronts the monster in the cave where Elizabeth is, and again, he's like, you can try to track me down and kill me, but it's not going to work. So there's this long chase scene. Whenever he brings out dynamite, and he sets up a base camp where his sled is with the dogs start barking. Frankenstein monster decides to come after Victor. Victor shoots him in the hand, but it regenerates, and Victor is pulled out of the tent and sent flying. Then he shows him what dynamite would really do. And he says to Victor, if I die, I die. I would rather die, but I have a feeling this isn't going to work. Lights the dynamite and explodes. And the only thing it does is burn the skin as it regenerates back, and he is back to full force. Victor is mortified even more because now he knows he can't die, but he can die. And so this is where it crosses over. Victor, basically on his deathbed, apologizes to him for bringing him to life. Now he says, you have a different purpose now. You must live, um, live the life that you can. Um, and, I am truly sorry that I did such a thing to you. And the monster has a reaction of thank you. And he forgives Victor for what he did. So, it's that kind of storytelling that makes this movie so good, where you want to believe that Victor was a good guy at first because he wanted to do this. Then he turns to basically his father, basically, torturing this poor thing that he created that he didn't want anymore. And then, full circle, hey, I'm so sorry that I did this, and I want you to forgive me. You don't have to, but you can. And you have on the other side, you have a monster who doesn't know any better, but then starts to become more aware and smarter, and knows that he knows he doesn't have a purpose. He doesn't have that human quality that everyone else has. His body is grotesque because he's basically the sum of a million parts, basically. Um, as he saw some of the pictures and stuff from the laboratory, um, and it's you feel for the monster, and the that surreal thing where you put yourself in his shoes for a minute and say he wasn't a monster. He was just a creation, a really unfortunate side effect of basically Victor being a madman for wanting to do something this unholy, playing God as it would. So it makes you think. Um, we have this age-old talk about cloning. Um, is cloning, going to be a thing? Is there a chance that there are clone making out there, and whether it is moral or not to try to clone human beings, or even anything for that matter. So it makes you think on that level where um, you really feel bad um, for the monster. Now he's going to be all on his own. Does not have a master. He doesn't even have um, a companion, and that's all he wanted, was a companion that he asked for when he was confronted by Victor at um, Alex and Liz's wedding. That's all he wanted. He wanted to be able to just disappear with a partner that he could spend basically eternity with, because again, he used a dynamite and didn't do anything except char his body, and he regenerated. So Victor not only revitalized this jigsaw of a man, but he made him more so kind of immortal at that point, because again, with regenerative powers, I mean, that's crazy in itself. um, and he died once, or died a bunch of times, depending on how you look at it. Obviously once when he was put together, he was already dead. And then, in the scene where those guys thought he had killed the old man, the old blind man, he had died in the snow. There was also outside the boat when they shot the ice and he fell through the ice and went all the way down. He survived that too. So, um, again, it's such a good movie. And again, Del Toro does such an amazing job of telling a story, and I think you guys are going to love this film. If you've seen this film, let me know in the comments what you thought of it. Uh, like I said, I think this is going to definitely be in my top 5 probably at the end of the year. We're getting close to the end of the year, and I'm guaranteed it's already in that top 5 spot, wherever it is. And yeah, watch Frankenstein. A masterpiece in writing and directing, and Del Toro does an amazing job with it. So, all right, thank you all for watching, and I got more reviews coming up, and so on, and got a lot of shows to kind of jam in here for the next month and a half, with Christmas coming up and Thanksgiving next week, and it's just it's going to be hectic as always during the holidays, so I will try to pump out as much as I can. But first, I will see you all at the movies.
You like that, baby? Let him know where I came from, yeah!
See you next time. Bye.
Waiting for you. Goodbye. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Hasta la vista, baby.
That's all, folks.